All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. This is the Wednesday, October 16th, 2024 Meridian Parks and Recreation Commission meeting. We'll go ahead and begin with a call of the roll. Rachel?
Yes, thank you. Mandy Roberts will be joining us shortly. Jennifer Bobo.
Present.
Bree Sandow. Joe Greer is absent. Ellie Hood. Dom Gelsomino.
Present.
Terry Dennington is absent. John Nesmith.
Present.
Alan Helms.
Thank you, Rachel. Our next item is adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt tonight's agenda? Commissioner Helms has made a first motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
Commissioner Sandow has seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Next order of business is the approval of the minutes from the August 2024 regular meeting. We have a motion to approve the minutes. Oh, excuse me, to approve the minutes of both the August 14th, 2024 and September 11th, 2024 meetings. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Commissioner Nesmith made the first motion. Do we have a second? Seconded by by Commissioner Helms. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Alan, I don't think your microphone's on. Is it?
Off button. How about now?
Now it
All
is.
right, so
All right, I will hand it off back to our sitting chair.
Well, thank you. I so apologize for my lateness. Traffic was horrible. Usually I'm one of the first ones here, so thank you so much for taking over. Okay, so on announcements, we are going to have Shelley Houston come up and give us the latest on upcoming events.
Hello, commissioners. We made it through summertime and our early fall. I don't know if any of you got a chance to see photos or attend our Meridian Art Week and the Meridian Art Party. It was quite lovely in Kleiner Park. Lots of potential. This was the first year event in that location, and we see the vision. So we're very excited for that. We also had our 3 different concerts on Broadway out front here. And the first 2, a little bit puny attendance, probably because the bands weren't quite as well known and it was hot and smoky and, you know, all those excuses. But I will say the third one with High Street or the Summer Groove Party Band, it was back to its old healthy self. So we had a great season. So our brains shifted over now to our next batch of events. I gave you each a flyer, and those of you who are remote, I'll make sure you get this electronically. I'll get it to everybody electronically. Up next will be Trunk or Treat on the 24th of this month. It's a Thursday evening from 6 to 9 p.m. It'll be in the City Hall Plaza area, the front parking lot, and we'll also use Broadway Avenue. So we're not downtown. We're more shifted over to the area of City Hall, like the good old days. There'll be food trucks and some live dance groups and entertainment and lots of costumes and candy. We've got about 80 trunks that'll be decorated, handing out. Sorry, my asthma doesn't like this wind and rain. So anyway, City Hall is free for people to attend. We just ask that attendees consider bringing either $1 per child or a canned food donation per child for the food bank, and they'll have receptacles there on site. So not mandatory, but highly recommended or suggested. And we've already had a couple organizations, I think there's schools in particular, that have made some significant cash donations to the food bank in honor of Trunk or Treat. So that's fun. Then we'll have our Veterans Day ceremony at the Rock of Honor in Kleiner Park on Monday, November 11th at 11. 11 at 11 makes it easy to remember. So anyone that would like can attend, and we recommend that you bring a folding chair or a lawn blankie and dress for the weather. And then we move right into the Christmas parade, which will be Friday, December 6th. It'll step off at 7 p.m. from the area of Story Park and the Speedway. And on a related note, I've got you a save the date, reminding you that we'll prepare a float. I use the term somewhat loosely. It's a little, it's illuminated and it's got little festive touches, but you're also welcome to do whatever you need to do to be cool and fun. The theme for this year's parade is so bright, you gotta wear shades. So it wouldn't be unheard of if you wore sunglasses, although you probably wouldn't be able to see a blessed thing, but it's better to look good than to see good. So anyway, please consider joining us on the float that night. The hardest part is getting your buns over there, finding a parking spot, battling the traffic, just family logistics. But we'd love to have you and your family members on this big float that'll be pulled by a pickup truck. Our staff pulls it, and nothing bad's ever happened yet. So anyway,
If I could interrupt for just a second,
Yes.
we could really use an RSVP for who will be there, and what family members are welcome. I don't need it tonight, but if you could like check your calendars and let us know at the November meeting, that would be great.
yes, and I'll send you a reminder so you'll see it more than once. And then the one thing that's not on this flyer yet is the Children's Winterland Festival. It'll be on the Saturday following the parade. And that, instead of at the Boys and Girls Club Gymnasium, we're shifting it over to the Meridian Home Court into the new Bay 6. And we might use Bay 5 as well. We're figuring out what's going to go where. That'll be Christmas themed games and activities and visits with Santa and that sort of thing. Again, free to attend, and encouraging people though to bring along a donation for the Meridian Food Bank. If you have questions about these or any other events you catch wind of, you can always call any of us anytime and we'll tell you what we know and give you the inside scoop. Questions, comments, worries, anything at all? Okay, really do think about joining us on the parade float. It's kind of a fun perspective to see the parade from
I have
parade route.
I have a quick question.
Of course.
Are dogs allowed on the parade float?
Yes, I say yes. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, you said family members, so.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, I think so. Well-behaved dogs on leash.
Oh,
That's how
yes.
we always describe
course,
dogs that
she
are welcome
is.
at events. Yes, I would think that would probably be fine. Yes.
Question on regarding your Veterans Day celebration. Can you tell me a little bit more about that and who's going to be there representing?
This is kind of a joint effort between our local American Legion fellows and gals and the VFW and other local, military service organizations. And it lasts about maybe 40, 45 minutes. And there's usually an opening prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. Sometimes there's a, national anthem. There's usually some sort of maybe a featured guest speaker who will say a few words or give an inspiring talk. And then on Veterans Day, I think they acknowledge the different arms of service and say, oh, if you're in the Navy, stand up and wave. If you're Air Force, they do the different military. What else?
I was just wondering because
It's that sort of thing. It's
Love
about
it.
40 minutes long and it's patriotic. And anyone's welcome. It's free to attend. And like I say, you bring a chair or a blankie, or a lot of people just choose to stand.
I just involved with a few veterans organizations, so I was just trying to
Yeah, there's a lot of
put out and
things
see if
going
I
on
could
that day.
extend that invitation to some of them to come out.
Yes, we always do Veterans Day and Memorial Day at the Rock of Honor inside Kleiner Park. It's over by the Senior Center, an outdoor venue. Anything else? Okay,
Thank you,
thank
Shelley.
you. Bye.
All right. Moving on to announcement 4, we have Director Sitaway who would like to talk to us about our meeting time. Throw out some options. Yeah.
Thank you, Chairman, President Roberts. I forgot what we decided it was.
I'm a chair.
Chair.
Yeah, Queen.
Chair Roberts. John, if you want to unmute, I might call on you in just a minute, but John Nesmith approached me during the parks tour last month and just asked if we could talk about the meeting time. The meeting times have been at various times. It used to be later than this, and then we moved to 5:30, and then there was a proposal to make it 3, but that was too early for the high school students that don't get out until 2:50-ish or something like that. But John has a standing conflict, as I understand, partway through Wednesday evenings, and it's difficult. In fact, I don't even want to talk for you, John. If you want to unmute, do you want to talk about your request? Maybe he's tied up. So we had talked about possibly moving the meeting time to 4 p.m. I have reached out to the two that aren't here, Joe Greer and Rachel's talked to Terry Dennington. For both of them, it is possible to move to 4 o'clock, but we don't want to do it unless that, works for everyone. We don't want to put someone in a hard place, but it would work for us as staff, and it would get you home earlier in the evenings, but it also depends on work schedules and things like that. And so I guess the question is, would you as a commission like to see the Parks and Rec Commission meetings stay at 5:30 like they are now, or move to 4 p.m.? And I'll just open it up for discussion.
Commissioners, any questions, discussion, perspectives you'd like to share?
I probably got the most flexible schedule, so I'm okay with either one.
You good?
Excuse me, just to confirm, 4 or 4:30, because I've seen 4:30. So I just wanted to double check it wasn't, I think in the email
wasn't
we
it?
got was 4:30, or what, did it just show 4?
I think we've been talking about 4, but 4:30 would work also for us. But but 4 is the proposal to start with.
Either way, yeah, I'm usually done by 3.
I think that I could make the adjustment. I would have to look at the days like next month that are closer, but as we get out a little bit on my calendar, I think that'd be no problem. I also think there'd be some traffic benefits to us getting here.
Yes.
Yeah.
that
A
would
little
be
bit
nice.
earlier, yes. So I would be in support of that change if it works for everyone.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't think I cared. And then I was like, wow, the traffic is really bad. I think it would be better if it was earlier. So yeah, it works for me. I don't care.
Does it?
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're here, school gets out at
Yes.
2:50,
School gets
so,
out at 2:15 most days.
Okay,
So
perfect.
I'm good.
Okay, yeah, and I think that works for me as well. I do work, but I can adjust my schedule on that day each month to be here, so shouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
So I think you have an answer.
I think we will plan the November meeting for 4 p.m. Moving forward based on that feedback. So I guess if anybody discovers that doesn't work afterwards, and but then we can keep a conversation. But I think the plan for now will be, let's start meeting at 4 p.m.
Okay. And I guess for that November meeting, if for some reason people needed to join by Zoom for that one, we have that capability, right?
Yeah, I mean, we
But
could.
hopefully it wouldn't be an ongoing thing, but yeah, okay.
Is Emily on? I was just curious. We need to check with legal just to make sure we don't have to do something noticing wise that would affect November, but we got plenty of time, I think, to notice the time. So time and date. So
Has
Anyway,
anyone
we'll
talked to
double check
Commissioner Bobo yet?
she is online.
Oh,
Commissioner Bobo, does that work for you?
It does. It works for me just fine.
oh, great. Okay, excellent. And I think that's unanimous then. Commissioner Sandow is going to check her schedule and see, but yeah, okay.
And I don't know if John, if you want to unmute and say anything? I guess not.
Okay.
Okay, we will move forward.
Move forward.
I'll talk to Emily and just figure out the logistics to what it would take to move to 4, and we'll do it as soon as practical.
Okay,
Okay, we'll
okay.
get back to you, but
All right. Thank you so much. So moving on with new business tonight, very exciting. We have a presentation on the community center schematic plan from Garrett White.
All right. Well, thank you guys for having me tonight. We're here to talk community center, right? We've been talking community center now for, I feel like a couple of years. It's been least been worked on for a couple years. I want to recognize Lance Fish with EJ Architects. He's in the audience tonight. Him and his team have been awesome to work with up to this point, and I'm sure here in the future. But just want to at least recognize him for the work that him and his team has done so far through the process. So I think I can change this. There we go. So we want to start with the vision, and we've been working on this vision, like I said, for several years now. Basically. This vision helps us with what we need now and what we need in the future. So when it comes to what we're looking for in the programming side of things is more classrooms, gym space, flex space, just for the community gathering space, offices, storage, lots of storage in the community center, some green space for the park expansion there at Settlers and things like that. But for the community center in general, this is the vision we've had for the last couple of years, and we've tweaked it here and there, but primarily it stayed about the same through that. Some of the key features that we have in the current design, like I said, this is the first stab of the apple we have here, but is flex space with a stage. We know that there are some needs for a stage out there, and the stage is kind of similar to what you would see in like an elementary school with the flex space out there that we can use. The space and the stage could be used for a lot of our jazzercise classes, exercise classes. It's an elevated platform that the instructors like to use quite a bit. Could also be used by groups like the Treasure Valley Children's Theater, those types of things. So we wanted to bring that to this space as well. 6 classrooms, office storage space, access control. The way we kind of design this is to where we can allow for people to use certain areas of the facility and not have access to the others, right? Access control portion. So as we get closer, I'll blow this design up a little bit so you can see a little bit better than what it's on the screen. But you'll kind of see what I'm talking about there. We've also had some conversations with the fire, and this location is one of the ideas and one of the spots that they want to be for their fire prevention office and their staff there. And really what that does is puts, EMS on site for any kind of emergencies that happen. And with the park and the softball and the baseball complex right next to it and their tournaments and stuff, it's nice to have some of that access there. But so we've talked about that. So you'll see in some of this design that there is kind of penciled in right now. They're still talking about it and figuring things out, and we're negotiating stuff with them as well to see if it all works and fits in there. But right now we have them penciled in. So future conversations to come with that. This is kind of our floor plan for now. And if you start going from the left of the screen to the right, you obviously have the flex space, gym space. You can have all the exercise classes, movement classes, those types of things. You could do basketball in there, volleyball, pickleball, that type of stuff. It's really a true flex space. We're thinking multi-purpose flooring for now, mainly because of cost and maintenance and stuff like that. Have a hallway and a classroom across the hall. And the thinking of that is, if you can kind of see the access control there, if you split the building up into 3 different layers, is if we had summer camp there, this could be a summer campsite. Right now we use 2 different schools, Discovery and Sienna, for a summer campsite. And we'd like to keep the kiddos that we're in charge of away from the general public, for lack of better words there, right? We want to be able to keep them under control, keep them in their own space and things like that. So if we did have this as a campsite, the access control allows them to have their own restrooms, their own classroom, and gym flex space to be able to use during the summer camp some of the days with the stage, those types of things. As you move over to the middle of the facility, is more of our office, lobby area, front desk space, conference room, storage, lots of storage, mechanical room, some vending stuff, janitorial closet, that type of stuff, right smack dab in the middle of the facility to where we can easily separate things. Moving more to the right is where all the classrooms are. And again, we have the access control right there to, if we want to segregate all the classrooms off to the side, we can easily do that, because that we have restrooms over there for those 5 classrooms as well. Arts room, instructional kitchen room, 3 classrooms. 2 of the 3 classrooms have a dividable wall, very similar to what we have here right behind us in conference room A and B. They have the divisible wall in between, to where you can separate into 2 classrooms or one bigger or larger one. So trying to be as flexible as possible when it comes to the community center. I can come back to this as we come through, and if you guys have questions at the end. Whoop. I'll skip all the way to questions. So moving on to the budget and the proposed operational budget. And right now, if you look at all the city facilities we have, City Hall included, fire stations, the new fire stations, new PD stations, home court, pool, those types of things, the average cost per square foot when it comes to operational budget, it's close to between $5 and $6 is what it comes down to. So that's the budget we're trying to get to. We're looking at about 22,000 square feet. Impact fee eligible wise, we're a little over that, but 22,000 square feet is good. Right now, I believe impact fee wise, it's 22,857. We're right about 22,000, just under that. So we're trying to stay within that because it's all impact fee eligible. Operating budgets, anywhere between 110,000 to 140,000. That's our best guess right now based on other facilities we have in the city. So we're trying to work on that and look for efficiencies, obviously, when we start building this.
That's an annual cost?
Correct. Yeah, just an operating budget. When it comes to building maintenance, janitorial, all the above, power, gas, those types of things. Sources of revenue in this facility really is our community education classes. Right now, as you guys all know, we have a 70-30 split when it comes to our instructors that offer a class. Instructor gets 70, we get 30, and helps us pay for the facilities and stuff like that. Last year, after paying instructors their 70% cost, the city earned about $63,000. So we hope that having more classroom space, stuff like that, that'll grow. That's the intent, obviously, to get all these classrooms and things, but that's kind of where we're at right now. Adult sports programs, I think you guys heard we turned away over 40 teams, like almost 50 teams when it comes to adult sports. So if the classes aren't using the flex space, gym space, adult sports could use that. And what we do is typically take a small percentage of the adult sports revenues and put it towards that facility that they're using, like we do at home court currently. So that could be some revenues for that facility. Like I said before, the summer camp programs, if we offer summer camp there. And then if we offer court rentals, we don't know yet. We got to get in there and look at it, but those are just potential revenue sources that we're thinking about as we go through it. But primarily it's going to be for classes and programs. We did put the cost recovery philosophy and pyramid on here. A lot of the programs are going to be in this land on the pyramid between basically 1 and 4, right? So we're kind of right in the middle. And if that's the case, we're kind of right where we need to be when it comes to the cost recovery for the facility. That's what we're hoping. Moving on. Staffing plan. So Monday through Friday right now, we're trying to figure out a staffing plan to get this staffed, the facility staffed. We're looking at doing, right now, the idea is to promote one of the recreation coordinators to a facility manager. We have a seasonal classes and camps coordinator that comes on seasonally, obviously, and then we want to make that full time to help backfill some of those other duties that the rec coordinator to be leaving behind, I would say. Additional existing staff could be moved over from City Hall. We're still working on that plan, so stay tuned for that. But that's what we're looking at doing to keep the facility open and occupied 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, like our current staff is. The access control comes into handy there as well because we can lock certain parts of the facility. Use classrooms, instructors can enter the facility with their own code, their own passes, those types of things, and everything's under video surveillance and those types of things too. But the access control will help us keep it open on weekends and evenings as well. So that's kind of the plan moving forward. Future for staffing, if we want to be open 7 days a week, we're looking at adding 3 additional staff, future in the CFP, our financial plan basically for the city. We're hoping that will come to fruition in the coming years, but we'll see how it goes and with budgets and things like that. The proposed timeline, obviously right now we're in schematic design. We're talking to you guys in regards to the Parks Commission tonight. We want to go to council next week and get their feedback as well to make sure we're all on the same page, we're in the right direction, and get feedback from them. We want to do a public outreach meeting in November, December time. We're still up in the air on what date that will be. We want to meet with council first to talk about that. And I believe council, it got moved to November 6th. Is that correct, Steve?
Yeah, we had planned on October 22nd like this.
And it got moved.
It's going to be moved based on council members' availability to November 6th.
November 6th. So we're hoping on November 6th to get feedback from council on the community center, make sure, again, we're on the same page and moving forward with their expectations. Obviously, as we keep getting farther and farther down the road with ZGA and Lance and figuring out what the building's really going to look like and things. It'll help us determine what the operating costs will be. This next winter, we'll continue with the schematic design development. Again, try to come back to you guys in February, March, give or take, and get another round of feedback from you guys, again, from council as well. Then we're hoping to go to bid in 2025 and obligate funds. When I say that, it's impact fees. And then start construction in spring of 2026. And that's obviously could change, could be flexible, move around, that type of thing. But want to start construction in 26, possibly complete construction in 2027 sometime, and then open the community center in FY 28, which is our budget year. So that's kind of the game plan right now. We'll see how it goes as we move forward. Getting to the park design real quick, just kind of going through that. We obviously, as you guys know, we bought the 11.365 acres from the school district where this community center is going to be. A lot of it is parking. One of the things we want to do there is help with some of to limit the amount of people that are parking in the neighborhood that are using the park. And that's not just MYB, it's park users in general. It could be PAL, could be MYB, could be other users, but we're trying to make the convenience factor easy for the baseball folks to park next to their fields. Have some open green space, large dog park, small dog park, some restrooms outside, and a little bit more green space for that. So that's kind of the overall plan right now. I did meet with some of our park staff this afternoon and kind of get some more feedback on their side when it comes to maintenance and what would be easier and stuff like that, we'll be talking with Lance soon in the near future about. So moving on from there, this is kind of the bigger picture of it. And I can go back to that, but for now, I'll stand for questions and I can go back to whatever side you guys need me to.
Commissioners, questions? Commissioner Helms, yeah.
Yeah, I have a question. Two questions, actually. You were talking about the operating expense. I was curious what do you have the capital cost yet or rough estimate for that?
I'm sorry.
Capital to build it?
To build it, we're still working on that. I could give you a number, but I'd be wrong. So, we're still working with we'll be continue to work with Lance and his team, and we'll bring in probably Kreisenbeck as well and kind of get more costs as we move forward with it. But right now, I'd be a rec guy. I'd be way off.
No problem. I'm just kind of curious about.
No, it's a good question.
Also, you were talking about the operational happen in the building mainly Monday through Friday. And, but I can see this thing really a weekend thing, at least in the outside of it, going on. So I didn't know I don't know. I guess you consider that and you want to get it open as soon as possible.
We would love to be open as soon as possible with our existing staff and then grow into the facility, if that makes any sense. The access control is really going to help us be able to use evenings with our instructors that we currently have. I mean, right now, our current community center is ran with instructors over here next to Centennial Park. And we also have people using Base 6 in the evening over there at home court. They have their own access code. Everything's under video surveillance. They know they're the people in there. They're responsible for their room and stuff. So it will still be used in the evenings with instructors. We still got to work through some of those logistics when we start building it and putting things together when it comes to access control. If we have adult sports in there, or we have a site setup person that's in there real briefly, then we have officials that are on site, just like we do with our schools and stuff like that we use. So yeah, we want to use it 7 days a week, and we're hoping to get there. And that's where the 3 positions in the CFP come into play. Yeah, good question. Thank you for that.
Other questions from commissioners? How about any of our commissioners on Zoom? Any questions?
You guys can't let me off that easy.
Oh, I've got some.
Okay, good. Yeah, right on.
Okay. Well, since we are early in the process, I really wondered if another revenue generating possibility might be renting out for events, reunions, or maybe wedding receptions, smaller ones, things like that. I mean, it seems like we kind of have a lack of those types of facilities. And I just wondered if I guess that's more of an operational consideration, but it could also be a spatial design consideration, and thinking about, if you wanted to have a reception in the flex space, but be able to pour out onto the patio as well, having, some indoor, outdoor, seamlessness there could be cool.
Yeah,
So just mentioning.
no, that's a great comment. And honestly, and you know this, that kind of stuff does come with staff. And comes
Right.
with other things and comes with tables and chairs and stuff like that. And a lot of those things add up, but absolutely right. We've thought about that.
Yeah.
We do know that we're not trying to be in an event center, but if it's a space that could be used, we would obviously consider it. But to your point, the operational side of those things is,
Yeah.
got to navigate through that. And yeah, but I love the idea.
Yeah. And I mean, there is the pretty substantial revenue generation around that too. So that can help pay for some of those things. So I just think,
Yeah.
maybe some thought given to it during the design process, but also just like you said, kind of growing into the facility over time and finding those opportunities could be really great. I do know, even for just meetings that people might want to having the ability to rent space for meetings or, yeah, go ahead, Director, sorry.
Yeah, I feel like I need to give a little more background to that because 4 years ago, that was our vision.
Okay,
We received some very specific direction from council in the early versions of this that we were not to try to be an event center. We originally had in the concept like not a full kitchen, but just a catering kitchen where events could be catered from, and we were asked to not do that.
okay,
Now, having said that, that doesn't mean that no reservations are allowed, period. I think as councils change, as the demands for the facilities change, I think it'll morph over time, and it may be different 20 years from now than the day we open it. But I do think there's going to be some version of rental available. What that looks like today, I don't know.
yeah,
I do know we're not going to try to be a wedding venue or family reunion venue or things like that, at least based on the current direction that we have.
okay. Were the concerns kind of around risk, liability, that kind of thing, or what were the reasons?
I don't know if it was risk. It had a lot to do with the way we would need to staff it. If
Okay.
we were going and the
Yeah.
costs associated with
Cost of
Um,
staffing.
being able to staff a venue like that rather than just giving someone the key and saying, here you go.
No, that helps me. I didn't have that background, so thank you. And the other thing I wanted to ask about is when you were talking about the operational costs, that didn't include staffing, right? Staffing's in addition to that.
That's correct. Yeah, 'cause
Yeah.
we're trying to open it with existing staff
Yeah,
already budgeted.
already budgeted. That's good. Okay. Let's see. Can you just go into a little bit more detail about how impact fees work and how that pays for the facility? Yeah.
Point to Steve on that one.
I'll jump on that because I just had an impact fee committee meeting this afternoon, and John Nesmith was part of that meeting as well. But so the city collects impact fees based on all of the building permits that are pulled, and it's based on square footage, how much. Yeah, we're doing well. Our current balance is about $19 million. I would expect, and that money's used to both build facilities and buy future land for facilities. Garrett rightly so hesitates to throw a number out there, and I do too, but I'm going to do it anyway, even though it's going to be wrong. I'm just going to say that up front. But just in terms of order of magnitude, this project is in the order of $15 million. And then I plan to use the rest of our current fund balance buying some land in Northwest Meridian. So we are working on a potential partnership to buy some land up there. There'll be more on that soon, but we know we need land up there. It's the future growth area. It's where the sewer is going. So we have plans for those impact fees. And you're actually going to see in my presentation that follows this, I'm going to lay it out in detail for you. So if we can just put a pin in that, I promise I'll come back to our plan to spend our impact fees.
Okay. Great. Thank you so much. And I'm just super excited and I can't wait to go into the demo kitchen for whatever events might happen in there. All right. Is that any other comments or questions from anybody? Thank you. Thank you.
Easy for me. All right. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
All right. So next up, we do have a discussion with Director Sidaway on future parks. Yes.
Before I jump into that, let me just say I'm so pleased that we finally get to, have a conversation about the community center because that's been a long time coming. I know the commissioners have wanted that. We've wanted it.
Yeah.
And the fact that we're here means a lot. So, but I'm going to talk about future parks and park impact fees. And this was a presentation that I made last night at City Council, and going to share that with you tonight. So before we talk about future parks, let's talk about current parks though, so you can get a feel for what do we have today. So we have 3 regional parks, 6 community parks, and 9 neighborhood parks. There's a gap between that and the next park types because those 3 types of parks, regional, community, and neighborhood, are the ones that most people would look at and say, that's a park. They have playgrounds, they have picnic shelters, they have restrooms, open, green space, and usually a walking path. And then the higher you go up on that chain, the neighborhood parks pretty much just have that. You go to community parks and they add sports facilities, softball fields, soccer fields, et cetera. You go to the regional parks and you get the more amenities like you see at Discovery Park, which has, skate park and bike park and 40-yard dash and, teen area and all that. So our really high amenity value parks are at the regional level, and they are our high amenity value, but the further up that chain you go, the higher they get. The special use parks are things like City Hall Plaza out front, things that aren't a traditional park, Generations Plaza in downtown. And then the sports parks, we have 2 special partnerships with the school district where they actually own the land, but we schedule them and manage them as if they were our own, but they're on school property. So we count those. So let's show some of these on some maps. So here's the overall map with all of them, all the current parks together. And one of the things I like to point out here is that we work very hard to get a distribution across the city. They're not all in North Meridian, they're not all in South Meridian. And we are working to have a good distribution of parks throughout the city. If you look at just the regional parks, that's Settlers, Kleiner, and Discovery, and there's more to come over on the west and where there's obviously not one today, and I'll be showing that in a minute. The community parks, Heroes, Tully, Fuller, Story, Bear Creek, and Hillsdale. Those are our community parks. I would point out that Hillsdale, we categorize these based on both size and use. And Hillsdale is more of a neighborhood park size, but its use with the partnership with the YMCA and others, it functions more like a community park. So it's categorized here with the community parks. Then the neighborhood parks, I'm not going to read them all to you, but the neighborhood parks are scattered throughout the city. And these tend to be the smaller parks, although they're still our general minimum size for these is 7 acres. Now, some of these don't meet that, but that's the size we strive for and have for years as we've moved forward, is that we want these to be like a 7-acre park size. And then here you can see the special use parks and the sports parks, special use ones in orange and the sports parks in green. I'm going to pause there before I go to the next slide. That is our system. If you take all of the parks that we have there and all the acres, which was about 360, I believe, and divided into the population, there's a little under 3 acres per 1,000 residents. That's one of the metrics we track because it's important for impact fees. It's like 2.68 or something like that. I can't remember the exact number, but it's under 3. That's an important number. And I just want to, I think it's important to know about level of service that, our goal is to maintain as close to that 3 acres per thousand. We have a stretch goal, but it really is a stretch goal to say we'd like to get to 4 acres per thousand. That would take a lot of investment because you cannot use impact fees to grow from your current level of service to a higher level of service. You can only maintain your level of service with impact fees. That's the rule. You're charging new residents what it would cost to maintain your current level of service into the future. So anything to grow from the 2.7 or whatever it is up to 4 would have to come from the general fund or donations or other sources besides impact fees. Now, what's a good number? Let me start with, I'm comfortable with 3 acres per thousand as our goal. The National Recreation and Parks Association does not have a national standard because, and they did used to say a number, and I'll get to that in just a minute, but they've gotten rid of saying a number because they say every community is different and you need to figure out what feels right and works for your community. 3 acres per thousand seems to work for our community quite well. The number that gets thrown around a lot is 10 acres per thousand. A lot of communities out there tout that they have 10 acres per thousand. Now, Meridian doesn't feel underserved with parks. We get a lot of kudos for our parks. So how can that be if we're so far under that number that gets thrown around with 10 acres per thousand? Well, that's this slide. If you look at all of the HOA parks that are out there that are private HOA parks and the school sites, which function as parks, if you add those to our parks, guess what? The total, what I call the effective level of service for our residents is about 10 acres per thousand when you add them all together. So we focus on those higher amenity type offerings to the community, and we do, and that seems to be what our community loves and wants. That's what we hear from them in our surveys. So if you add them all together, put our parks on top of the HOA parks and the schools, you can see that they're scattered literally across the city. Now, let's talk about impact fees. How many acres of land can we improve between now and 2032 with impact fees? That's regulated by the study, and the page that's back behind, I don't expect you to read. I just wanted you to show that that's the source. And the bottom line of it is what I blew up in the middle, which is from 2023 to 2032, there's a population increase of 32,654 people, which allows us to develop 87 acres to maintain our level of service for those future residents. So that's what we can improve 87 acres of future parkland over between now and 2032 with impact fees. How much land can we buy for future parkland? We can buy 120.5 acres between now and 2032 with impact fees. And so we're working on and looking for that. So here's where the rubber meets the road. And this is what we're going to spend our impact fees on. The Settlers Park expansion is the community center project, the park portion of that. We're working on that right now. So we see us designing into next year and then having a couple of years of construction, 26 and 27. But that's our next big impact fee project. The Great Cliff subdivision is a unique spot in South Meridian that was identified in our master plan as an underserved area when we did level of service geographic analysis. It was, we're really well served here, 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 and here, but right here, there's kind of a gap. So we do have a potential partnership that we're working on with a developer to build one there. Great Cliffs Subdivision Park will not be its name because we have learned that we don't like naming public parks after the subdivisions, because people tend to treat them as private subdivision parks, and it creates conflicts. So we'll come up with a different name, but until then, it's the park in Great Cliff subdivision. Field district area is that far northwest. That's where we're trying to buy 40 acres and would like to see a regional park of some kind up in that far northwest. That's up north, then back down south. You see this kind of goes north, south, the way this plan goes, so that we're, giving some love to residents across the city. But Discovery Park has a phase 3. It's about 12 acres in size and is the area south of the ball fields and the bike park there. Margaret Aldape Park is kind of a unique offering. We don't own this land yet, and so I don't know its exact acreage. That's why there's pluses or minuses on there, but we've been working with the Ewing family, and Margaret Aldape is kind of the matriarch of that family. And they intend to donate a section of land on the Boise River. So this would be our first Boise River Park, like Boise's Boise River Parks. Now, a huge portion of that 70 plus or minus acres is floodway. It's not places where you would build any structures. That's why it says about 13 acres developed, because there will be some of it developed. There will be picnic shelters and restrooms and a place for events to happen, but a lot of it will just be cottonwood trees, pathways, and places to go walk along the river. And then West Meridian Regional Park, interestingly, we've owned that longer than just about anything else on this list. Well, I think anything else on this list. But it's the last on it, in spite of the fact that we've owned it the longest, because of sewerability. We're waiting for the sewer to get there, an annexation path, so that we can annex it to the city, develop with city utilities, and it's just the furthest out of these. So that's the current plan. Now, where are these? A list is one thing, but let's show you on a map where they are. So here you go. But does this mouse work? Oops. Kind of. It's not working very well. Okay, but way up north, you can see Margaret Aldape. That's the one along the Boise River. The Fields District in the northwest is there, and then the West Meridian Regional Park is on Cherry Lane near McDermott, where the Lions Club Rodeo currently sits. The Settlers Park expansion is the 11 acres next to Settlers Park. Down south, you can see where the Great Cliff subdivision park is, and then Discovery Park Phase 3. So you add those on to the existing parks, and we're starting to fill in the gaps. I mean, that's the point. And if then I'm going to take off the names of the existing parks and add in the school and HOA parks, and then you can see kind of the distribution across the city. Let me pause there for any questions about what I've presented so far.
Any questions from commissioners?
Alan's chewing on something.
That was just a lot of information. I wish I would have brought my glasses. But anyway, no,
We can share this with you and you can digest it. So the discussion topic for council last night was this. Does the city council want us to focus on community and regional parks only and have the subdivision and HOAs focus on the neighborhood smaller parks? Or do they want us to stay open to exploring partnerships of all sizes? And I did make a recommendation. I think what makes sense is a hybrid, and council agreed with this last night, that it makes sense for us to focus primarily, but not exclusively, on those larger community and regional parks. They are higher amenity, they serve more citizens, and we do want the HOA parks to serve most of the neighborhood park needs. Although we will, where it makes strategic sense, like in the case of Great Cliff subdivision, where we've identified a gap, to remain open to potential partnerships. And we do have a potential partnership here where they would donate the ground and then we would develop it. So this is kind of the direction philosophy-wise, whatever, that we will be focusing our attention. So that's the presentation, and I'll stand for any final questions and.
Commissioner
got.
Helms, yeah.
Thank you. I have one question, kind of, maybe you don't have that. On these HOA parks.
Yep.
Now, they're owned and operated by the HOA.
Yep.
So, if, are people allowed on those, I mean, out of that neighborhood? I mean, to participate or walk on or take a dog through or, you know, if,
They are private property.
right,
So it's kind of up to the subdivision.
okay. So, makes sense.
Good question.
I mean, they're technically for that subdivision, but I don't know that anyone's going to know if you live here or across the street. So.
I mainly ask because my son and his wife, they actually just live on the other side of Meridian into Boise, and they have dogs, and they go walk the dogs, and all of a sudden they walked into an HOA park, and you know, not doing anything bad, but apparently one neighbor took offense to it and kind of, I guess, good thing my son is good natured and because he's 6'4" and he's very fit. But I would have knocked the guy out. But anyway, just saying, you know, so they won't go back there. They just said, well, we'll avoid the conflict.
They are private property technically. Yeah.
I was just going to make an observation, you know, what you said earlier, Steve, about National Park Recreation Association standards and things changing over time. I do think that it's great to focus, like you said, on this hybrid approach, to continue to look for all the opportunities, but, you know, really serve the bigger needs through the regional community parks as kind of a first tier and then as neighborhood parks arise. I also think it's kind of important to think about, you know, new key opportunities that the community is lacking in. And I'd have to go look at the master plan again and see sort of what are those needs based on surveys or data collected. But that's kind of what NRPA is suggesting too, is that, you know, really tailor what you're providing to the needs of your community. And so I think as we look for these opportunities, you know, are there some unique things? Do they connect with pathways? The river property is going to be so awesome, you know, having that first access to the river in Meridian, you know, but just are there some other things? Oh, and the other thing I like about that property is just having more of a nature park, you know, potentially, which we don't really have much of that. So that could fulfill kind of a unique need. So, yeah.
I mean, if you look at Settlers, Kleiner, Discovery, I mean, they all have a very different personality, and this one would have a very different personality and different recreation values available. So, yeah. Anything else?
Not from me.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so are we going to do a tour debrief? And is that meant to just kind of get everyone's perspectives on how they thought the tour went? Do you want to kick us off with that, Steve?
We'll kick you off. I'm going to come back over here though, instead of standing
Okay,
up there.
sure.
But our last meeting was the parks tour. And we just welcome any feedback of what you liked, anything you didn't like, or, you know, anything you would change for next year. This is an annual event that happens in September. So just open any feedback that you have. So I'll turn it back over to you.
Feedback about the tour? Oh, you did. Oh, sorry. Oh, okay. Okay. Well, how about you, Commissioner Gelsomino?
I thought it was great. I mean, we cover the things that are important, and it's always a good opportunity to reconnect, especially with leaders who've, you know, since retired and surprised us by joining us. It's a great opportunity. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think the only comment I would have is that the bus, right where I sat, the air conditioner that was right across from me above the DeVere's was blowing right at me, and I'm like, oh man, and the cap was broken, so they couldn't even shut it. But yeah, that pretty much everything else was great.
Anybody? Oh, Would you like to say something? Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I really liked going to home court because we talked about it so much and I had basically no idea what it was. So that was, yeah.
Great.
I liked seeing that. Yeah.
Good, good. Anybody online have any comments? I enjoy it as an opportunity to just connect with everybody on staff. We don't always see everyone unless they're giving their reports. And so just to kind of talk with people and learn about what they do every day and then, you know, just to be able to knowledgeably understand all of the different facilities that we have. It's pretty helpful, important. So thought it was great. Yeah.
So I have one thing to share. I did get some feedback just that night as we were ending from Council President Kavanagh. And he jokingly said, hey, we got a big problem, you know, too much good news for one night. We got to split this up. And been thinking about that. And in the spring, we usually do have a pathways tour that we do with the commission. We go on the bikes and ride the pathways. And then we have our facilities tour in the fall. This coming spring, I don't know that we're going to have a lot of new pathways to ride that we haven't ridden recently. We may try and find a park to visit to kind of do a behind the scenes deep dive as part of that spring kind of tour opportunity. So the idea is not fully formed or developed yet, but if you have any wishes or desires, it would be great to go see X, Y, or Z, like home court or something. If there's something else out there that you haven't been to or that you caught a glimpse of on the tour, but hey, I'd really like to go back and see more about that park in more detail. We may work on something like that as a spring option. So just an idea that I'd throw out there.
Yeah, I think that sounds good. And maybe even alternating the pathways tour because, you know, maybe in, you know, every other year, maybe there would be more activity that we could go and see. And I'd be interested in maybe doing a drive around or tour stop at some of the newer areas that you're looking at, Steve, for purchase and park development. That might be kind of interesting to see too. I don't know much about the Fields area, but that, you know, that looks pretty interesting. So
Like a future parks tour.
yeah,
It's not going to look like much.
there's not much there.
Field. Yeah.
Gotta use your
We could
imagination.
almost do that with Google Maps and just we can drive around on Google Maps with our screens. I don't know. We'll give it some thought. I do
Yeah.
see where you're going. So okay, well, we can talk about that as we get
Okay.
towards the spring.
Okay.
But okay, I think that's it on that.
All right. So now we don't have any old business. We don't have a workshop this evening. So I think we're on to staff reports.
Well, you've kind of heard the big updates from me. Community center, working on future parks, acquiring future parkland. You know, it's a busy time of year for us with the end of the fiscal year and the start of a new fiscal year. We're, you know, internally, we're doing performance evaluations for all staff. I mean, it's that time of year. Mike and I got to go to the NRPA conference last week and got to attend some good sessions there that one that I particularly liked was on the loneliness epidemic and parks' role in helping build connections. But I think I know, knowing what these two are going to cover, I think that's my update for tonight. I'll stand for any questions.
I'll just briefly go down my list and see if you have any questions. Hillsdale Park expansion, Marty Hill gave us like an acre or so of about a little less than an acre. They're out there. We have a crew out there greening it up right now. So that'll be finished this fall. We've got some, it seems like this is the season for streetscape beautification projects. We've got the 10-mile road medians that are north of the interstate are going to get redone. So we've got that in the hopper, roundabout landscaping, Locust Grove and Victory. Right now or Locust Grove and Amity. Right now there's just rock out there. We're going to add irrigation and plants to that. Ustick Road has two widening projects that are in the works. Ustick from Linder to 10 Mile. And then Ustick from 10 Mile to Black Cat. 10 Mile to Black Cat bid. We'll do a budget for that, a design and a budget for that in next fall, and then go in and landscape that. Linder Road is in design, the overpass and Linder Road widening area. There's medians and art and landscaping on that. So we've got kind of that one in the works as well. And then restroom projects at the golf course. We have the two sites for this year. Site A and B. A is across from the clubhouse. B is over by Black Cat on the number 9T. The site A is going to kick off here in a week. Start with foundation and utilities. The buildings are going to show up in January. Site B is a little bit more of a challenge. We got to work with, we got to grab sewer that's 22 feet deep. So Black Cat Road will be closed for a couple of days because of us. Sorry. And then we've got a couple more site C and D that are in the works with geotech reports and survey work, topo surveys and design and stuff like that. So we got the next round we got the one round that's coming to fruition. We got the next round that's in progress. And then we got a restroom at the trail hub that's going in. So getting prices and geotech and all that stuff on those. So that's what I have, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
It's pretty busy. Questions? Yeah.
Question,
Holmes.
yeah, regarding that, that new restroom on hole 8, 9 there.
Uh-huh.
Later, can you just show me exactly where, if we got a site plan of that? I'm just kind of curious exactly where that's going.
It is, if you know, I'm sure you do. So you would finish the number 8. You'd putt on number 8, and then you'd jump on the cart path to get to the number 9T.
Mhm.
It's right there.
Right there, okay.
Yep. So it's not where the porta potty is.
I know, it's on the opposite side. I was just kind of curious if it was close to one of the homes or not.
It's not. It's about right in as centrally located as you could possibly get. It's kind of near the pond a little bit, probably 20 feet from the water's edge.
Oh, so it's on the left side if you're on the cart path?
It is,
Oh.
yeah. It's on the left side.
Okay.
So we got to go across the fairway and we got to go out into Black Cat and grab water and sewer. Power's coming from the power lines that are on Black Cat. So that one's a little bit of a thing.
There's a whole lot of construction going on in that area, our plan.
Yeah.
Those roads, so.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
And buildings right now are tentatively set to show up in January. Hopefully the ground's frozen because we got to bring a crane in across the golf course and set the one. The other one we can access from the street. So we're kind of fingers crossed that everything's frozen and we can get in there and without causing too much damage or spending money on trench plates to kind of inch the crane in and that kind of stuff. So
Good luck.
getting
It's to freeze pretty soon.
Okay, I'm up. So what I've been working on recently is obviously the community center stuff, getting a lot of that stuff going, operational budgets, staffing plans, those type of thing. Been working on a lot of our program fees across the board on the rec side, from golf to home court to pool to just our programs in general, and our fees and cost recovery philosophies and stuff like that have been adopted. So I've been working with that, doing a lot of staff evals, like Steve had said, and then a lot of budget work just regarding golf and pool and programs. So a lot of that kind of stuff. I'm a rec guy. I'm doing a bunch of finance stuff. So doing that. The fields and external events, Skylar's been working on the FY25 summer schedule through all of our parks. She's already reaching out to those users that are begging for field space, whether it be diamonds or rectangles. So he's doing that. Also working on the FY25 external events schedule as for all the events that happen in Kleiner Park, Sadler's Park, or wherever it may be. And then he's also got cornhole leagues going, and he's planning a disc golf Halloween tournament out at Kleiner Park. So he's got that going on. The pool is heated, thank goodness, because the swim team groups over there, I drove by there this afternoon, it was pouring down rain, and all were standing on deck like, I don't want to get in. So they weren't. They were worried about weather and stuff like that. But the pool is still being used by some of the swim teams. I believe it was Meridian High School that just got finished, or Rocky, one of those two, just got used in the pool. Willow is already starting to program and schedule next year's summer when it comes to swim lessons and working with the swim teams and getting their swim meet dates and those types of things. She's also working on adding additional swim lesson programs, mainly a mommy and me class for those that are like 18 months, 2 years old, that depending, kind of getting used to the water and things. A lot of other cities around us do those types of programs. So we're trying to implement that as well to offer that at the pool. So she's working on that. She's also got all the CPR certifications where she trains for CPR and first aid. So she's starting to schedule those. We're starting to put those on the calendars for all of our park staff that need to be updated in CPR and first aid. So she's doing that, and that's AEDs as well. Events, it's Christmas and trunk or treat, you know, that's what Renee's been up to. Sports wise, today was a volleyball deadline registration for the fall. And I want to say I walked by at like 1 o'clock, and there was the co-ed division was full with 12 teams turned away on a waiting list. I haven't heard about the women's side yet. So I was just literally walking by and heard that said. Also got volleyball going on right now, basketball, and then she's got the Holiday Classic volleyball tournament getting ready to start. That's again that Head Start program fundraiser to help get some Christmas gifts for those families. Home court, a lot of pickleball. I was there this morning, and it was packed with pickleball, believe it or not. And then noon ball comes in at noon, and they play basketball for a couple hours while pickleball gets moved to Bay 5 or a couple other courts that are available. And then in the evening right now, you'll find pickleball, volleyball, basketball, kids, adults, seniors, all the above. It is packed. And one of the numbers I got to throw out there from last year when we started running all these budget numbers and projections and stuff like that, just in the day passes at home court, there was almost 48,000 check-ins just in a day pass purchase, if that makes any sense. That doesn't count the memberships we offer, but 48,000 daily check-ins over the course of about 340 some odd days that were open because of floor roof servicings and holidays and stuff. So it's a lot of people been using that facility, and that doesn't even count the AAU club teams that use the facility in the evenings as well. So a lot of stuff going on at home court. And then Jake and I started talking today about, we got budgeted to replace the HVAC units there at home court to help with some of the condensation issues, as well as some more efficiencies there at the home court. So a lot of stuff going on. So with that, I'll stand for questions.
Any questions from the commission? Yes.
I don't know if you know the answer to this one, but I know probably they do. If I was just kind of curious, I've been kind of out of the loop on things lately, but for Lakeview, are they going to, I assume, the recommendation to increase the rates there? So, I mean, it's just well played, and okay, but those are, they haven't talked to, council hasn't seen that then yet.
Next Tuesday. Is it next Tuesday?
Yeah, it's going on the 22nd. So Steve will be presenting. I would be presenting, but I'm going deer hunting with my daughter for the first time, so she's excited. So Steve graciously accepted to help do it for me. But yeah, we've got comparisons and things like that that'll be shared with council.
Right.
So it's a next Tuesday, the conversation. It's not,
Yeah,
the fees aren't going up. So then we would notice them and come back at a public hearing. If there's any adjustments we need to make, we would make those prior to that.
You guys don't have any recommendation as of yet?
We do. Yeah, so what we did is we benchmarked about 10 comparable courses, all the way from Purple Sage to Warm Springs, Eagle Hills, Shadow Valley, courses like that. We didn't include the top end courses.
Right.
And like Banbury and places like that. And what we did is we went right to the midpoint of those courses, of the comparable courses that have a comparable product that we directly compete with. So we would go, right now, we're about 5.7% below the midpoint of all those courses. So we would go to the midpoint. And some go up a little more than, some fees go up a little more than other fees, but that in a nutshell. And what we've heard is that a lot of those courses are going to go up again in the spring. So this will only bring us to the middle. It won't put us above the middle. We'll probably fall a little bit behind and stay super competitive because we expect at least half those courses to go up again in the spring.
Right, yeah, well.
And
It's
so,
popular, so it's supply and demand, I can understand an increase.
yeah, and our costs went up about 4%. So our budget from FY '24 to FY '25 is about 4% higher. 25 is.
Just for the record, I just want to remind everybody, open voting started yesterday, so I voted.
Thank you. Okay, I wanted to just make one comment, Garrett, and that is, hearing about the 12 volleyball teams that had to be turned away, that makes me feel sad.
Us too. And it was
Yeah.
today like at 1 o'clock. So I don't know what came in the last 4 hours of the
Could've
day,
been
right?
more,
But
yeah.
that's why we're looking for gym space. I know Jake and Maggie are working together with the school district to try to see what else is available, what we can do. Obviously, the community center is going to have some of that flex space, could be used as a gym. Classes and programs come first, but then, the sports leagues do need some help on that. So we're working on it, but we have the
Yeah.
same feeling.
Well, thanks for working on that. I think the comment I would make is just as we are thinking about increasing our park space, to maintain our existing level of service, right, Steve? As we grow, there's just going to be continued demand for recreation facilities. And so I know you guys are thinking about that too, but, it seems like it's going to be a constant challenge to serve the need. So.
Yeah, we do know that, adult sports, youth sports, all that kind of stuff, even just programs and just getting people together is, kind of a thing. It's people's, outlets. That's what they want to do and kind of release some steam a
Yeah.
little bit. So yeah, we value the recreation side pretty high too.
Yeah, I know. Okay, thank you. Kim, did you have a report for us tonight?
Sure. Is this working?
Yes.
Excellent. Good evening. Last up, Pathways. Locust Grove sidewalks from McMillan to Chinden are pretty well complete concrete-wise. We'll just go through and do some punch list items. When I was out there last week, the contractor was working to get irrigation repaired before the water went off. So, and then we'll continue to replace trees on into the spring. The Pathway Master Plan update has been on pause for just a couple of weeks. We realized we had some internal questions about maintenance, some of the long-term implications of the things we want to do. So we've been having some meetings to solve a few internal questions, and then we'll meet with our consultant tomorrow and have a plan to pick that up again, just to make sure we're on course with what's realistic. Rail with Trail, which is just west of City Hall, about a half mile. We had the somewhat circular experience today of meeting with our community development department on our project to see, what their input was. It's almost like reviewing yourself, but that was a productive meeting. That one's moving along. Our partners at LTAC, who are administering the funds, are looking at environmental and cultural resources. Engineering plans are about 30%. We're looking at our zoning compliance. So that's on track, none too quickly, but still on schedule we're wanting to bid that in 2025 for some irrigation work that fall. And then we have a new project west of McDermott Road, where the pathway that we're going to build will go under State Highway 16. So we were out there, some of us I know on the, the pathway tour. So that's a segment of pathway. I don't remember how long it is, about quarter mile maybe, to fill in what has become a pretty prominent missing gap. So contacted a civil engineering consultant and are working to get a scope and fee for that work so we can design over the winter and look to bid in the spring. So that one will be really satisfying and fun to get done because again, we just continue to add miles along the 5 mile. Otherwise, a lot of plan review. It's not crazy, but you know, projects always coming in. So that means more pathways too. And I'll answer any questions if anyone has one.
Any questions from the commission? No? Okay. I guess I don't know if anybody online has any comments or questions. I think is that it for staff reports? Did we cover it? Okay, great. I think we'll move on to kind of start to close things out. We did want to just open it to the commissioners to see if anybody has any suggestions of things that they would like to cover in future meeting topics. We meet monthly and try to plan out our meetings, and so we can kind of take any suggestions into advisement that people might have about future topics. Just thought we'd throw it out there as an idea.
And as we were meeting to set this agenda, we went over all the commission goals, which are printed on your agenda. And we focused on number 8, where it was like other task forces, commissions, entities, and agencies through workshops or outreach for partnership opportunities. So if anybody knows of another group, you know, we've heard from in the past from City of Eagle Pathways and how do we connect with them, or I think Ada County Parks and Waterways was here earlier and talked about their plans for the float season and things like that. But, you know, there's been safe routes to school or anyway. If there's someone you want to hear from, I guess let us know.
And we can also ask this in November if you want to think about it for a little while. Think about some potential speakers. I will say I have a student who's interested in working on Margaret Aldape. So I want to talk to staff about that, but maybe we could have him come and present his project, which would be very good experience for him. That would be around in May. So we'll see if that works for you guys, but.
I know that I believe MYB, Meridian Youth Baseball, is planning on coming to talk if it works out schedule-wise in November, and we can reach out to PAL again. I know last year they came and gave presentations on their programs and their successes and things and how they do give scholarships and that stuff. So I know that MYB is planning on November, and I need to touch base with Brian with with PAL as well to see. But
great.
If there's any other groups like that, I'm happy to reach out to them. So
Thank you. Yeah.
I know that Ada County's working on that new big park project at the fairgrounds where it's going to redevelop near the old horse track near the fairgrounds. I mean, that's going to be a big regional park that could be interesting to hear from at some point. It doesn't have to be next month, but
I love
very
that
much in
idea.
development of that. But that Mike was just mentioning that to me, and I think that's a cool idea.
Yeah. Yeah. That's an asset to the whole valley. Yeah. Great. Okay, well, I think with that, we will call for a motion to adjourn.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
thank you. Do we have a second?
Madam Chair, I'll second that.
Thank you so much. All those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thanks so much. You're adjourned.